During the gold rush, if you want to search for gold, people had to have a claim and a license to look for gold. A claim was an area of land 3.6 meters square. Often 2 or 3 people would work a claim together, sharing the costs of a license and equipment and sharing whatever gold they found. To keep the gold, the miner has to work every day except Sunday when no mining was allowed. A license cost 30 shillings a month and allowed the miner to keep the gold from the claim. The license fee must be paid to keep the claim, even if no gold was found that month. At first, people looked for alluvial gold, which is gold lying in streams just under the surface of the bottom of the stream or creek. People washed creek sand in iron pans. As the dirt washed away, any gold was left in the pan. Its weight kept it from washing away. Gold is about 6 times heavier than sand. It was really important of the development of Australia's population because the gold rush caused a huge influx of people from 430,000 in 1851 to 1.7 million in 1871. Australia was first to become a multicultural society during the gold rush period. Farming was so important back then. There weren't many shops, so farmers had to farm all day in whatever climate. Farmers didn't have many machines to help carry crops or things in the farm, so farmers had to carry by hand. In hot sunny days, like in the summer, the crops would often die. In rainy days, the rain is really good for plants and crops. During that time, it was really important that it rained because the crops could have some water to stay healthy and would help the crops grow quicker for the farmers to cook than eat. The resources that the farmers used were tobacco, water and timber. Before the development of the steam engine, all the work in the farm was done by strong muscle men or beasts animals. In preparing for the seeds, the men used to mow the crops of grain seeds. Women and children tied the sheaves and made stalks so that the grains would dry. Farms would need lots of animals. Farmers would protect their animals' stock against sickness and injury. Farmers would feed animals food and water with shelter during summer. Another problem that the farmer faced was that animals might eat the crops, and the farmers had to control the dingoes or other animals from eating the crops. Matthew Flinders was born on 1774, March 16, Donington, and died on July 19, 1814, London, United Kingdom. Flinders was an Australian navigator and a cartographer. His wife was Susanna. Flinders was taught at Donington Grammar School. Flinders wanted to become an explorer and a sailor after reading a book called Robinson Crusoe. He met George Bass, a ship's doctor, when Flinders and Bass were sailing to Australia on the Reliance. Both of them became really good friends and were able to go on many journeys of exploration. Achievements. Flinders was the first man to circumnavigate Australia. It was Flinders who suggested the name Australia, and it was adopted 1824. Several places has been named after, such as Flinders Island. In 1796, Bass and Flinders explored the coastline south of Sydney using a tiny open boat about 2.5 meters long. Flinders made 3 voyages. When settlement of the British was in Australia, it was not peaceful. As the colonies spread across the whole continent, Aboriginal people were displaced from their lands, killed in battles for their land. The estimates of the number of Aboriginal people who died in frontier conflict vary widely. Many Aboriginal people died from diseases such as chickenpox and flu. Aboriginal people and white settlement has lots of disagreements. Aboriginals was poor, didn't have enough food, and didn't have armour to protect themselves and their own land from the European war. When the arrival of the First Fleet in January 1788, Britain took formal possession of Australia. The British took control of Australia without permission and without negotiating with the original inhabitants. The British declared that the continent was terra nullius, empty land or land belonging to no one. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders were the first people to live in Australia. It is believed that the indigenous population could have been from 50,000 to 1 billion people. Australia was not one nation, but up to 400 Aboriginal nations speaking about 250 languages. Western European countries was taking control of the lands of indigenous people, including America and Africa.